We used to say when I was in film school, we used to say like movies are hard. That was like our catchphrase.
Movies are hard.
Movies are hard.
Just like you.
Sometimes you get hard making movies too, but it's...
What kind of movies are you making with these people?
Listen, it was film school. Times were rough, right? You know.
Oh my God.
We had to do what we had to do to get by.
Me and my roommate just got a little closer than we ever had.
I'm very difficult to live with.
I couldn't tell that at all. I needed to leave a different roommate situation because she started leaving her loaded gun on the table. So I was like, I feel like I literally was like, I need to move out ASAP. ASAP. And yeah, she was a fun roommate too. So.
That creates an interesting power dynamic, just leaving a loaded gun on the table. That's a power move.
Yeah, it was. I understood where I was in that power dynamic, and I got the fuck out.
Yeah. They just set the gun on the table, and they were like, all of you have knives. I brought a gun to a knife fight. We haven't talked about this.
Oh. Where are we right now? You might be wondering.
Yeah. You'll never know.
I'll never know.
You'll never know. I think I've entered like my like Stanley Kubrick era where I have like a vision and I have to be meticulous and like carry it out. And this is like a step towards that. This
took like 3 hours to set up, by the way.
Yeah.
Tristan came over and he goes, I have all these poles we need to set up and I have 50 curtains. Yep. I'm like, okay.
So I had this idea like a long time ago. I was like, we had like the one backdrop, but I was like, we need like a corner setup. We need to have like, it's easier to having guests.
Yeah.
Which I love that we set this up like for the first time when we don't have a guest.
And I know.
But we're ready now. I've had a lot of friends like that though, where I kind of play like the dad role in the group and I'm like the youngest one. That happens like actually quite frequently.
I think that's because you're like the oldest in your family. So you're probably used to taking responsibility.
I'm the oldest sibling and I'm also one of my only like peers that has a kid.
Yeah. So you have that adult responsibility vibe.
Yeah.
Which is good because we've met some people recently where we're like, wait, you have a kid?
Yeah.
You have a kid? Oh, that's interesting.
A lot of people are surprised when I say that about myself and they like learn that I have a kid.
I think it's because you like we're just like, I don't know if it's because we're younger or because I don't think like we are in our 20s, but I think people could be like, oh, okay, they look like they're in their mid 20s, like 25. Not because we're both 27. But I feel like maybe you can look a little younger sometimes. So people are like, wait, how old are you?
Yeah.
And you have a kid? I think that's what it is.
I also have like a younger energy. Like the way that I dress and stuff like that is definitely younger.
You definitely dress like you dress, I would say like a young millennial, because we are young millennials. Mm-hmm. But like also you're not exactly like it's not Gen Z, but it's not fully millennial either.
See, here's the thing.
It's like the in-between, because we're the in-between age.
Right. I think 96 was like the cutoff.
So 95 and 96 is a cutoff. So we actually we're considered either millennials or old Gen Z.
Right. And I tend to kind of identify, I think, a little bit more with Gen Z. Like, as far as, like, sense of humor and things like that, like, if I'm, like, watching something, I generally will think it's funnier if it's, like, the more, like, Gen Z type humor.
I think I identify with more millennial humor.
I would agree with that.
I don't know. I think
it's a good balance.
Yeah, I'm like, haha, like, I don't even know what I laugh at. That's millennial. I can't think of anything right now, but...
Yeah. Well, because millennials had, like,
like when BuzzFeed humor was huge. Like, the BuzzFeed, the quizzes, the Vine...
I think that millennial humor started the kind of like dark sort of thing, but it's more of distracting from the darkness. Like it's doing things like BuzzFeed and things like that.
Yeah, it's like the ironic hipster thing.
Yeah, but
humor.
Gen Z was like, the Gen Z sense of humor is basically like, we know how depressed we are and like we're leaning into it, and that's I think what I like relate to.
That's true. They all like they'll literally just stare at the camera and be like, when you're depressed and your mom's yelling at you, but at least you have hot dogs, smiley face.
It's literally like that, and I'm like, it's basically how I cope with everything.
I don't know. I feel like I'm very much more of like, I need to distract myself. You're right. You're like Heather can't accept her inner demons.
Right. We talked about this last night, where the like embracing your darkness and things like that, and how it's like the difference between being like a true villain, or like if you think you're a villain, is basically like how much you like either fight against like the darkness inside of you, or how much you accept it, how much you use it as a tool.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to that. If you have to really like know yourself And if you lock all your like demons in the closet and try to like distract yourself from them, it's like you'll end up with millennial humor. But if you're kind of like, if you'll like shake hands with your demons and be like, let's write jokes together, then you have like more of like
I
a
feel
Gen
like
Z
I've
sense of
been
humor.
embracing more of the Gen Z humor lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this podcast, I appreciate it because you are why I do all this work.
He literally he went to Home Depot. He bought all these pipes. He put them together in his house with his very cute daughter. They had a very masculine bonding moment. I don't know. And then
No, the funny thing is that we built it on Labor Day, and I was like, I'm celebrating Labor Day
by doing labor
with child labor.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Like forcing my child to.
She probably had a great time though, or something.
She did. And that's like a kind of a like golden parenting tip, is that like kids don't care what they're doing with their parents. They just want to do things with their parents.
Yeah, I've heard people like I saw people once, the mom taped like a square on the ground of the kitchen, and she goes, you guys have to get as much dirt in the square as possible, go go go, and then they all were like sweeping it into like
into the square. Yeah.
I mean, it's like if you make it like a game and you make it seem really fun, they're gonna want to do it with you anyway.
Exactly.
So you can teach. So I mean, you can start being like, June, let's vacuum the floor. And you'll be like, oh my god, vacuum it, like, you know.
And there's more of like an educational benefit to, like, they're seeing you model something, so they see you doing like whatever the task is. You're also teaching them how to do it so they can be more independent, and you're connecting with them at the same time. It's like it checks so many boxes to like do that kind of stuff with your kids.
That's like great parenting 101.
There we go.
Tristan Shae.
Yeah. I'm sometimes in this podcast I'm daddy, and sometimes I'm just dad. On this episode,
I can't.
I'm dad.
I don't. The dad no one needed or wanted.
I think I'm the dad that a lot of people want.
No. I meant like
you know
you're like you do, like, you know, your dad's always there. He's always dependable, but like it's like a thankless job kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Like you're always
See,
present.
you said
like,
dad no one needed or wanted, though, which is like.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant like no one, like, they didn't think they needed or wanted.
The dad that no one appreciates.
Basically, okay, yeah, that did come out wrong. That's not what I meant.
It's all good. It's all good. See, I'm a chill dad.
I always have to like I say something and you're like, that was mean. I was like, but that's not what I meant though.
And I'm like, okay, you actually meant this.
Words escape me.
Words are hard. Words are difficult.
Oh my god. Thanks, Dad. Ew, no, that was weird.
We're back with Comedic Behavior Therapy. I am one of your hosts, Tristan Shae.
And I'm your other, Heather Scott.
Yes, and we are here today, back, the dynamic duo of this podcast.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us. We can make a podcast.
It's the two of us. I wanted to kill myself.
In Grandma's living room.
I'm kidding. No, I was going to be like, we're like all happy, but secretly we just want to kill ourselves.
You're trying the Gen Z thing, is what you're doing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do the creepy like fake smile, and then like in the eyes you can tell they like are trying to like die.
Well, and Gen Z is very
you can't
like,
do that.
It's very deadpan too.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
it's very just like,
we can make a podcast, but we want to die. That's like Gen Z humor.
Yeah, like that's, I feel like the epitome of that. Her name's Bobby Athaba.
I think I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember what her name is.
Bobby Ad. I can't remember how.
The like blonde girl, right?
Her name's like Bobby A. Yeah, and she's blonde, and she's just like, it's like this like high awkward tension scenes.
That's her brand.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's why I think I'm finding it funnier. But like that's like so prevalent. But now it used to be called cringe, but now people like the cringe humor.
So I don't think that is considered cringe. I think that type of humor came out of avoiding being cringe. I think if you're deadpan, then you avoid being cringe. Like having a reaction to something is viewed as being cringe. Because if you're like, I don't know if you're around a lot of like Gen Z people, I feel like for some reason I end up, maybe it's just like because of work and stuff. Like,
no, well, you literally work with kids, so yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. So I'm around enough like Gen Z people that I think that's been what I've learned about that generation, is that it's like, if you don't react to things, then you avoid being cringe.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. You did tell me about that. They basically are underreactors. Mm-hmm. And that's also kind of weird, though.
I think it's like a survival skill.
It's a survival skill because they realize how screwed up the world is, and that they may not be able to ever buy houses, and they might have to work until they're like 80.
So they're like, instead of feeling something, I'm going to make TikToks, but I'm not going to show any emotion. Yeah, you're right. Millennials blowing up about stuff. Yeah, because millennials are like, it's hard. I can't buy a house. And
I think
people tell me
I don't know if this is like, just my like conservative raising, but I feel like I understand it's hard to buy a house, but I feel like I know I will be able to get a house because I'm going to make that a goal and make it a priority. And save. I understand some people are saying like, I can't buy a house ever, but I'm like, why? I mean, I can understand if they're like, okay, I have like $40,000 in loans. They're not going to approve me for a loan to buy a house, even if I do have like a very good job. Okay, to me, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and the interest rates are incredibly high right now. So the loans that people have to take out are even bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things too that it's like, it really just depends on your level of like privilege or poverty.
That's true. That's what I'm saying is like, I can understand from certain perspectives, but I was like, from like a middle class, like if you're having if you're a like millennial middle class person, people older than me are saying, I'll never be able to buy a house. I'm like, shouldn't you have had, like, they've been alive, well, quote unquote, longer, in the workforce longer, so they should have been building capital. I was like, where's your capital? But if it's gone because they had to pay off student loans, then yeah, that's really shitty.
That's part of it. And education doesn't teach you how any of that works.
Right. You have to learn it on your own. So people like buying house, like, I don't even know. I understand like maybe the overarching process of buying a house, but I don't understand how that works.
And people coming to the realization that they won't be able to buy a house has to do also with an increasing awareness of how that system is set up, from education,
right,
like to the way like the economy works, like wages not matching up with inflation.
Yeah, no,
like
that
once
makes
you
a lot of
start
sense.
adding all of that up, then it's like, it's very easy to have kind of like a giving up kind of attitude. I mean, I honestly can like have kind of that attitude where I'm like, it's just not going to happen. And
no,
that might be
I
okay.
understand that. It is. So my conservative upbringing really is just because like we have these conversations before, and then I'm like, yeah, that really sucks. And then I'll come back and be like, why can't people buy houses, Tristan? It's so easy. Like, but my parents are boomers. I'm getting over it slowly.
Yeah.
I'm slowly being deprogrammed to be like, hey, I can buy a house for a bottle cap and a quarter, and it's fine, like in 1980.
So your family then skipped like the Gen X?
So my dad's a boomer, but my mom is like a Gen X.
Okay. Because both of my parents are Gen X. Like my grandparents are boomers. So it's...
Yeah, my dad turned 60, so he was the last wave. He's lived last year in like 1964 of boomer.
Yeah. Wasn't there was like an after, what did they call it? It was like the boomers, and then there was like a second boom. He might have been part of that.
He's part of like the second boom, but they considered it kind of like a 20-year span actually for boomers. So some boomers could be in their 70s and 80s, but the youngest ones are kind of like in their 60s. And he just turned 60, so he considers himself a boomer. What's
crazy is that I feel like all of the generations are marked by like whatever like thing they kind of like went through. Like the baby boomers, it's like they were being raised like in the post World War II era.
So everything was possible, everything was good, there was the money, the economy was good. I mean, maybe not in the 70s, but still.
Well, and then by the 70s is when it started to kind of like go to shit because of like the oil embargoes and things like that. Yeah. And that's like the world that Gen X grew up in.
So they're a little more disillusioned.
Yeah, well, and they were kind of like, they were raised by boomers, and so they had like parents who were like, it was a little bit easier for them to like buy houses and things like that. So they were raised in more of like kind of like privileged environments, and then the world just kind of all fell apart from like the 70s, 80s, 90s, because then there was like increasing conflict with like Russia and the Cold War and things like that. And then by the time it got around to like millennials, like things had gotten so out of hand that like that's why the millennial generation like doesn't really know, because Gen X was like in between.
Millennials don't know what the fuck is going on.
No. But then Gen Z, because of like the information age, like they grew up, a lot of them grew up post 9/11, a lot of them grew up like post internet and all this. They have so much information. And I think that like some of that like numbness, like the lack of reaction that they have too is like
information overload.
Yeah, and people could gain access to things that like people were like not meant to see. Like kids were able to watch like videos of like horrible events happening around the world, whereas like previous generations it was like they were like trying to like do like a stick and hoop, like
yeah, I mean it's literally like ignorance, like that's why like boomers are ignorant, because they sometimes don't even know how to even turn on their own TV. But what I'm saying is like they don't want to listen. They're like, no, that I didn't grow up, I didn't know about any of this kind of stuff. Yeah, because like you didn't have TV, people weren't reporting it. They didn't even have like the capacity to even like report what they can now. Yeah,
it's just an entirely like different world. It's interesting, like the different perspectives that
I get depressed about the world sometimes, but then I'm also like, this world is like better than I would have been. I rather would have been born in this generation than like a previous generation. But
right.
But I mean, like I'm glad I'm born in the generation I am, and I'm glad I'm not born in the one after.
In the one after. You mean like people's kids now?
I'm glad I'm not a young Gen Xer. Not Xer. I mean, I'm glad I'm not a Gen Z, and I'm sure as freaking glad I'm not a Generation Alpha.
Yeah. So Gen Alpha would be like the pandemic kids, right?
Yeah.
Because that generation, I am very curious to see what happens with that generation.
I feel like that is going to be the most socially disengaged generation we're ever going to see.
Possibly, but they're also like, because like social media, I kind of view it as like Gen Z grew up where like the internet was always available, but social media didn't come around until later.
Yeah, so basically Generation Alpha is going to be like social media their whole lives, computer, fast internet access their whole lives.
Dude, toddlers can use devices like nobody else. Like I can literally like, if I like hand my daughter like the phone, like she knows how to do like everything on it, and it's like she can't even read, but she just like goes around to, she'll take pictures of herself, she'll like find like a game or like switch to different videos and stuff like that. Like it's funny because like there's all this stuff coming out, like wearable technology and things like that, and it's like, but it's already sort of like, the younger people are, the more like they are attached to some sort of device already. Like I think that like syncing together like people with technology, like that's very like as scary as some people think it is. It's like I think it's very possible. I think it's like if it's used in like the wrong way, it could be like Black Mirror where they put the computer chip in your brain, and then like they literally can like live stream what you're seeing, thinking, feeling, your memories. I mean, yeah. I saw like one episode where this guy literally like he could record his memories and record everything, and he could go back and rewatch everything like live time, like watching TV, like a security camera. And then he found out because he kept asking his wife, "Are you cheating on me? Are you cheating on me?" And then he kept replaying like the interactions like she and like another guy had, that he like made him think about that, but he played it back so many times that he finally zoomed in on the exact moment where he like found it, and then he started beating. Spoiler alert, by the way. Yeah, I mean this is like I think in the first 2 seasons, and there's like 5 or 6 now, so it doesn't really matter. It's one episode. Yeah, get over it. And then he's like beating the crap out of the guy. And he goes, "Give me your memory of you and her." He's like beating the crap out of the guy, and the guy like sends it to him, and shows that they're having the affair. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen Black Mirror. I've seen everything except the most recent season. I can't watch. I had to stop watching it. Oh, really? It was freaking me out too much. See, maybe it's just because you like darker stuff. I already think like that anyway. I already think that about technology, where it's like it has the potential to be very bad. Like it has good potential, and it also has the potential to bring out the worst of people. Well, I know it could either be like their kids are using it and they're having this whole interactive world, and they're interacting with people in Japan and Korea and like America, and like you know, you just like feels like you're with them in real time. That's super cool. But if you're just always like in your mind, like you're never experiencing life. You're not connecting with people I feel like that even sometimes about my phone. Like there's sometimes where I just have to like set my phone down and I'm like, I need to do something where I'm not looking at a screen.
Literally, this has been the issues for like the past, I would say almost like 15 years now. Since 2010, they've always been like, put your phone down. Here's an app that will lock you out of your phone. They literally have like a box that you put your phone in, you close it, and it locks it for 10 hours. And you cannot physically open the box.
10 hours is a long time.
It's literally like a timed like locking box.
Yeah.
I've seen it and I was like, I need to get that.
See, I have pretty good self-control with it, and I really only use it if there's nothing else that I need to do.
No, I've got, my self-control's gotten better, but I was like addicted to TikTok, and I was addicted to like social media, especially during the pandemic when I was like everybody was depressed. I mean, how else were you going to deal with everything?
Yeah, just go on your phone.
Yeah,
have you watched I Think You Should Leave?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
I don't think you have, but there's one that's like, this is also in like one of the first episodes. It's not really like a spoiler either. It's just the premise of the thing. And he's like got a debate show, and he's like, if I disagree with what you're saying, I'll just go on my phone. And he like leans back and he's just on the phone. He's like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm just seeing if my like mom texted me or whatever. Like, oh, she keeps trying to call, whatever. He's like, you just don't like that I said that like women should have the right to like do this or whatever. And he's just like,
oh my God.
It's so funny.
That's so stupid.
I love that show.
That sounds great.
That show is very inspirational to me. We should probably swing back into more like comedy. I feel like it's a very good conversation. But like,
I feel like it's because we're relaxed and it feels like we're in a living room, but
it does.
We're not.
We're in like grandma's house and we're talking about technology. We're like, remember grandma when she
Stop saying my house is like grandma's house.
No, it's the curtains and stuff. Like, we did this on purpose. We set it up like grandma's house on purpose.
Do you feel comfortable?
It's a good vibe. It almost feels...
Do you feel comfortable here?
We want you to feel like you're in like a safe place where you can...
I feel like maybe I realized that
open up.
Like this might have been cutting off my face the whole time. Doesn't matter though.
You'll see it from one of the angles. That's the other thing. We got a 3-camera setup now.
We do.
We're
hot shit.
We're hot shit now on this podcast. Like, it was amateur hour for the first, what have we had? I think we've had 7 episodes.
How have we already had 7 episodes?
I don't know, dude. But like,
yeah,
I feel like we started this. It feels like we started this like a year ago, and it's only been...
Yeah,
like
I was going to say...
I think I'm accidentally making the opposite point than you
No,
are.
I mean, so if it's been 7, it's been like 2 months.
Yeah.
No, yeah, about almost 2 months.
Which seems crazy because I remember recording that first episode.
I mean, I remember like we talked about the podcast for like quite like a few months, but then you were the one that really like brought it. Like you were like, okay, we're gonna actually do it, and then you started buying stuff, and you started being like, okay, we're gonna actually do it, and then I was like, oh, we're actually doing it, and then like I bought some stuff. I had the lights, I had the stuff, I had the space, and I was like, oh, we're actually doing it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I'm not gonna gatekeep how we did this podcast. Like, if you like want to start a podcast, this is like exactly how we did it.
Well, we won't gatekeep, but we will sell you a course and a consultation.
Sure. That I'm gonna give. This will be like a preview of the course. The general outline of what we did is one, you have to like meet the right person, and that was like what it was. Like I got into comedy.
You have to go meet them, talk to them, look them deep in the eyes.
Yeah, you have to make a genuine connection.
But also, strangely, maybe not fuck them. I'm kidding. There's a lot of couples that have podcasts.
Yeah, you can do that. That wasn't my speed. I have a podcast idea.
Wasn't my speed to fuck you, Heather. I really appreciate that.
It's not the kind of person
no,
that I am.
I really appreciate that because I wasn't what I was trying to do either.
Nope.
This is what I want to say, we're both the 2 committed relationships, but not with each other.
Nope. A lot of people assume that. Like, that's just kind of people's general assumption because I think it's so rare for people to have a genuine platonic friendship. Like, it's such a rare thing that people just assume. Like, people have said that before. Like, if we're like at a show, they're like, you 2 are together, right? And I'm like, no.
No, I think it's because like man and woman friendship equal... men and women together equal relationship, but I feel like also it's hard for men and women to be friends because they don't have like boundaries. Like they get like, or like, you know, I've had men tell me like, yeah, I'm only friends with girls because I find them attractive. Right. And I find them attractive, and I mean, maybe, you know, if her boyfriend broke up with her, I try to swoop in, but if like we met and we had a genuine connection like with comedy and like we like talking to each other. We're like, we always are making jokes, and then we both were like, we could like really do something with this. Like, you know, we could really like have a podcast. We could be a comedy duo. We could have a group together. We could make more friends.
Well, and you have like, you legitimately have a degree in business. I have like it's like a hobby for me. Business is like just like an interest for me. Like I just like learning about it, and kind of like I just listen to some things and then read other things, and I kind of was like, I never thought of myself as like a business person until we started forming like comedy as a business. So that's the other thing. Find it if you don't find somebody to do the podcast with, if you want to do it by yourself, one, you're going to be doing twice the work.
100%.
And two, you kind of have to know all of the things. Like you have to know the business part, you have to know the comedy part. Like, you have to somehow be funny enough on your own. Honestly, I would really struggle with doing a podcast talking for like an hour and trying to be funny.
I don't know how people could talk about by themselves, honestly.
Like, unless you're Theo Vaughn, like I don't know that you can do it. But
I mean, it's like you have to find a partner, and you have to find someone that is as like committed as you, or like someone that is willing to put in as much work as you. I mean, I feel like Tristan works a lot harder than me sometimes, but I also, you know, there are like ebbs and flows. He does more work. I'm going to try to do more work myself, and I try to do like other things. Like I get us events, I get us like comedy shows. He's doing more stuff for the podcast. So it's like you have to it's very like, you know, you both are bringing something together, but you're both committed to, you both have a similar vision. So I'm not just going to sit here and let him do all the editing and all the like production and all this when, and I'm going out and I'm getting shows. I'm going out and talking to people. I'm going to recruit people. I mean, it's like,
and that's kind of how we did it from the beginning, is we were like, okay, you do the events, and like the podcast was more like my like vision.
Yeah. It's yours.
I was like, I wanted to do, this was like my like bread and butter, or my like pride and joy kind of thing.
I don't know what point we're on. Point 3, divide responsibilities.
Yeah. Get your people. I like to think of it as like gathering your like Avengers. Like you have to have people like who can all play a role in whatever like thing that you're doing.
Right.
And it's like, if you just want to do stand up, it's like, well, then find people who know how to get venues, find people who know how to like do all the marketing and things like that. Yeah. But if you want to do more than just one thing, it's like, then you make it harder on yourself. But you also like, if you have more of like a community, then it's like you have somebody who's good at social media, somebody who's good at coming up with ideas, somebody who has a truck and goes to Home Depot and gets all the stuff to build the set. You know? That's all I do.
I mean, yeah, it's like if you have two people that want to do a podcast, but both of you are fighting over how to do everything, like you're both fighting out how it's gonna, the editing, how you want it to look, how the setup. I kind of like let Tristan have most of those, let him make most of those decisions, because that's like, he really wants to do it. I don't really have any editing experience anyway, but everything he puts together is amazing.
That brings me to point 4. Are we on 4? I think is that having that collaboration though was like basically what built the brand of the podcast. So that's the other thing, is like, once you have your podcast concept, it's like, then the next step is figure out what your brand is. And so we went through a whole bunch of different ideas for like what like the logo was going to be, the color scheme and things like that. And that was like, you came up with the color scheme and the logo concept. And then basically I just started throwing combinations of like colors and animals and stuff into like an AI generator, and like all of our concept art came from that. And then the rest of it I made by hand. I think one thing that makes it really well is that we came from a collaborating background, because we met at improv. So I mean, if you're like a comedian, go find an improver. They're such team players most of the time. I mean, because we came from a collaborative background, which I think was like very key to our success. Yeah, because the first thing that I ever did with comedy was Gresso's Meetup, and immediately I was kind of like, this is so much easier to try to like, even just at its core, like comedy is just being funny. It's so much easier to be funny when other people are helping. Yeah, it's even better if you try to set the other person up to be funny. It's like not about you, it's about what you two can make together. And like this, we've had a podcast, we have a improv group together called Problem Child. Shout out to all my problem children. Yes.
I told my mom that was the name of our improv group. She was like, that was your nickname growing up. Is that what you did go with? So why you guys chose the name Problem Child?
That was basically why. It's because we were all going through all of our people, and we were like, yeah, we were all problematic kids.
Yeah, coming up with the name, like we were talking about, like, oh, are you the oldest? Are you the second oldest? Because we're like, maybe we could call it middle child, but not everybody was a middle child. So then we're like, problem child. And then,
yeah, because I was like, I'm the oldest, but I'm definitely like the most problematic of my siblings, I would say, in many ways.
Yep.
So yeah, know your brand of your podcast. That was another part.
Yeah, I feel like we're whirling.
The other thing is that if you have ADHD, lean into that. Like
ADHD, I think it's so interesting because my boyfriend, he has also like ADHD, but and he studies, he runs his own business and he studies a lot of other people that have started business, or like there's this podcast called like Founders, and it's just talked about people that made like Balenciaga, Louis Vuitton, like the people that actually started all these like luxury brands and stuff like that, or like Apple. I think one time they talked about like Taylor Swift, or that might be a different podcast, but they're basically talking about like wildly successful people, and all of the business people are not neurotypical at all.
No, I think
they're all usually have ADHD or OCD or something.
Yeah, or like they're on the spectrum.
Yeah,
like a lot of very successful people, their brain works differently, and that's why they're able to.
They're not quote unquote normal.
Yeah,
they're not. They're interesting people.
Yeah, and I don't want to say like I don't like to use the term like high functioning, because it's like I'm sure they have like things that they struggle with, but there is like there's advantages to certain areas of life to having your brain work differently.
Yeah,
like especially in business, it's like do you want your business to be just like everybody else, or do you want it to be something different entirely? And so that's where you end up making your own set out of things like this. It's because built different.
Yeah, I would have never done anything like this. This is not in my wheelhouse. I mean, I would have been like, if I really wanted to do it, I probably would have, but like that's like this, like I said, this is Tristan's vision. This is his bread and butter. I'm more of like, I would probably, if I was hosting an event or something, I'd be like, we need this, we need that, we need streamer, so that'd be more my thing.
You're like the event guru.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Yeah, I already started planning our comedy show at up front. I was like, by the way, I got us a photographer. By the way, I got us like maybe a sound guy. And you're like, how are you already?
I legitimately, when you said we have a photographer, I was like about to start crying. I was like, I don't have to do this.
You don't have to do everything by yourself.
No.
Another thing, try not to do everything yourself.
Yeah, I'm still working on that.
Trust your partner in business, in life. Try to give some trust.
Yeah. I feel like, so I kind of want to, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to say as far as like starting a podcast. The last thing I would say is just do it. Like
yes.
Like if you have your idea, that's great. Think about it, like what you want your brand to be. What do you want your message to be? All this kind of thing. And then like just do it.
Oh my God. Doing it is such like, when we first started, remember we had these like on books?
Yeah.
That was 2 months ago.
That was 2 months ago. And look at us now. Grandma's living room. Actual mic stands.
Actual legit fucking setup. Like,
yeah.
I'm actually very happy right now. Yeah, 3 cameras.
Yeah.
Legit light setup.
But we started
with books.
With like the mic on like a shitty stand on top of like the Body Keeps the Score. Like that was legitimately, and like what was that like flower box thing? Yeah, we literally were like stacking shit up. I had like a
jewelry box. I put stacked books on it. I mean, like, and I'm saying is like you can go so far. Like we're not talking. This is not last year. This was 2 months ago.
Yeah,
this was 2 months ago.
So that is something that I learned when I first graduated high school and I went to film school. Is that a lot of people wanted to go out and find like the best lights to make their like short films. They wanted to use the best camera. They wanted to have like the best sound person in our class and things like that. I kind of had like the opposite, and it was like one of my friends actually who like kind of convinced me of this idea, was that like if you start with something that is subpar and you figure out how to work with things that are not the best, you have to compensate with skill. You have to compensate with learning.
Yes.
And so you learn how to make things from like whatever like scraps you have like put together. I always love like that line in Iron Man when he's like, Tony Stark put this together in a cave with a box of scraps. And that's basically like That's like how I try to live my life is like figure out how to make it in a cave with a box of scraps. And then, you know, once you have access to Stark Industries, then it's like, it's easy.
Basically. Are you saying you're like Tony Stark?
I'm saying a little bit, yeah.
I can see like the haircut.
Yeah.
Your new haircut.
The haircut. I just need like the
Tristan's
goatee.
new haircut.
Yeah. I did it myself.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I don't pay people to cut my hair.
Oh, okay. I thought when you said you got a haircut, I thought you were like, you wanted to go get your haircut.
No. Ever since.
Damn, and you can cut your own hair?
It was before.
You are like you're like a quadruple threat at this point.
I'm just fiercely independent. I think that's what it is. I don't trust other people to do a lot of things, even like cutting my hair. I'm like, this thing that I can literally not see to do all of it, I know I can do it better.
Oh my God. I can't cut. I cut my own hair and it looked so bad during the pandemic. I literally shaved my sides of my head like you, and I had like, it was way longer, and Devin was like, please don't do that again.
So I think in another life, I may have been like a barber or like a hairdresser or something.
Probably.
Because we talked about this last time with Jay.
And Slay. Bzz. Sorry.
I wonder what era it was in. If I was like,
maybe you were like 60s, maybe older.
I think it would have been great if I was like a barber in the 40s. If I was like a part of like a barbershop quartet and had like the little hat and everything. No, sorry. We were singing like Beach Boys songs.
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay. Low-key, like love the Beach Boys though.
They are
great
good.
band.
Pretty good band.
Especially the Christmas song, like Little Saint Nick. I used to like annoy my mom when I still lived at home, like every year at Christmas, because she can't stand that song. But it's one of my favorite Christmas songs. So I would just like find a speaker and I would like turn it up like every time around Christmas.
Oh my God. So, and it was even, are you sure it wasn't just your favorite song in the beginning because you know it just annoyed your mom, and then it became even more of your favorite song?
Yeah, it built on itself over time.
You're like, I love this. It has a double effect. It's good and it annoys the shit out of my mom.
Da-doom.
Oh my God.
I don't know. There's like a 1-2 punch. I don't know what I was doing with the drum. Ba-doom. I think that was my like. I don't know what to say here, but it became like an inside joke. Like every Christmas, then it was like I would play that, and then like my mom would start laughing.
Oh, that's good.
I think that's kind of like comedy advice, is that like sometimes if your joke doesn't work the first time,
double down.
Just keep trying.
If you keep repeating it will be hilarious. I saw one person repeat their joke 3 times, and no one laughed the first 2.5 times, and it was so good the third time because they just kept repeating it.
Third time's the charm. If you're bombing, just tell the joke again. If it bombs,
I'm not kidding. Yeah,
tell it again.
Because sometimes it's just funny because they keep insisting, and it's so bad it becomes funny.
Yeah. One thing that is kind of like
I realized
that I don't necessarily enjoy. I'm not calling out anybody specific by saying this.
But you are.
But when people, I'm not going to name any names.
No, I know. I'm just laughing.
But when comics will get annoyed at the audience for not laughing.
If I have to say that's a little cringy. Like people yelling, they're like, "Come on, that's funny! Come on!
Yeah.
Why aren't you laughing?" I'm like, "Why are you yelling at me?"
Yeah, especially when people do that at open mics. Like if you're at an open mic, people are literally just trying to like enjoy their like Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
And people are just like, it's okay to laugh. And it's like, well, maybe they're not there for a comedy show.
I think there was only one time where someone like said something like that, but they said it, I don't even know how they said it. They said something, they're like, haha, yeah, it's okay to laugh. I know you secretly want. It was like something like, oh yeah, I know you really secretly want to, but you didn't. I don't even know what
it's like,
it was.
What are you trying to like seduce them? Are you trying to gaslight them? It's like, I don't know.
I don't even know, but it was like one time somebody like said it in such a funny way that did make me laugh. When we didn't laugh at their original joke, they're like, "Oh yeah, I love awkward silences." It was something like, I don't even know.
And I'm honestly like, if I'm at an open mic, I kind of expect to bomb. Like that's where you're like trying it out. You're really trying out the timing. You're not like trying out getting a reaction. From like 6 comics at a bar.
Maybe that's why I take it so personally, because I'm like, I don't expect to bomb every single time I do an open mic.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, that does explain why you get kind of upset then.
I usually don't, because I think it's because I usually like, we love Fives and Xavier G. Dunson, and he always hosts such a good mic, and people are usually more receptive there. It's chill. I mean, I feel like usually I go to Fives and I do pretty well, and then whatever. So like when I've been bombing lately, I've been like, this is not what I've been expecting. Because I think I've been trying to like, I try to treat it like fives, but I know it's not fives. I know I'm probably going to bomb anyway because like no one's paying attention to me and everyone's talking.
There are some open mics in Columbus where I know I'm going to bomb every single time. And I just like, I accept it. Like
the vibe, like when you go to a bar on a weekday for open mic, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like it was like the vibe, you feel the vibe and you know everyone's there kind of just to do their material and everyone will give you like a half laugh at most, but like you usually when you go up you reflect the mood of the open mic and of the crowd. Even if you were like, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna tell like some of my best stuff. I've seen people like, I've heard multiple comedians with the same jokes and they even delivered it kind of the same way. Like it was almost like exactly the same. Completely just silence. People just being stared at.
So the audience kind of reflects like your vibe too.
Yeah.
And so at open mics, my approach, this isn't actually advice to anybody because I don't think a lot of people would agree with what I'm saying. But I basically like don't really try at open mics. Like if I'm going to an open mic, I am basically like just reading the idea to see if anybody even like looks up from their phone or does like one of the like exhale kind of laugh things. Like if I get anything like that, I'm like, okay, maybe this joke's worth keeping.
Maybe I should change my approach because I'm always like, if no one laughs, I'm like, oh, did I what? And then I get awkward and I'm like, oh, well, you know.
Yeah. For me, I'm like, I know that I'm just trying it. I know that's probably like the first time I've thrown out like that joke. And like, I'm not trying to like tighten down the timing necessarily at an open mic. I'm really throwing an idea out to an audience and basically like if they like pull back or something, I'm like, oh, maybe this joke went too far. Yeah,
it's so interesting because you can tell like since we've been doing it for a little bit now, 8-9 months ish, you can almost immediately tell when an audience leaves you because at first people, especially if they're new, they just keep going with their material and you're like, ugh. Like you're like, stop, just move on, tell the next joke. That was too weird, or that was uncomfortable and comfy, or too racist or something. And then they just keep going in, and you're like, dude, this is not. But like usually, if you're a little more seasoned, you can tell when an audience leaves you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I'll come down stage, I'll be like, I feel like I lost the audience. Be like, oh yeah, you did. I was like, yeah, it was confirmed that you fucked up.
It's hard to keep. Because if you just keep things like super clean, a lot of times like audiences don't necessarily want that unless it's like a dry bar, like clean comedy type of show. Yeah, it gets
it's a little boring, but like if you're like clean, but then you throw in like an innuendo, and then you kind of keep it clean, then you throw in another innuendo. I mean, that's still technically clean comedy.
Yeah, and I feel like I try to do that, but I've gone like all over the place. That's like part of like a lot of times I'm just like experimenting, and so I've tried like really clean. I've tried being like, oh, I'm gonna write like really dark stuff, and like it's funny because they look at me and they're like, no. Like that's usually when like an audience I can't like keep them, is if I go like super dark, they're just like, you can't do that.
No, because I think we also talked about how that really wasn't like your authentic self. I mean, you gotta explore, you gotta find yourself, experiment a little. Yeah. So I tried dark, and I went dark, and people were just like, well, even worse reaction, because they were like, what? Like, it was just...
Yeah, I think that...
But I also told the joke very seriously, so it sounded like I actually did want to maybe harm someone.
And that's the thing, is that dark jokes, I feel like, are so, like, touchy.
They have to be delivered, like, so, I would say basically expertly. Because, like, some people are very, like... That's all they do, but they say like what they deliver it in such a way they go, oh my god. But like I'm not one of those people. I was gonna say my comedy style. I'm more of like like conversational.
Oh, for sure.
Do you know like
storytelling? Yeah,
like do you know like Sarah McMillan?
I think so.
She's I was gonna say like someone asked me today like who's like your favorite comedian. And I was like, well, because, I don't know anybody, but I was like, Sarah McMillan. I love her because she's just like very unassuming, and she's just standing there, and then she'll be like, blah, 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 my fatty, blah, blah, blah. You're like, what? Like, she's just like, it sounds like she's talking to you like your friend. She goes, when your friend, she came to me and said, I need to tell you something. I mean, it was just like, I love her. I don't know. I think she has a very quick wit. I think she's hilarious. I started like watching more of her stuff, and I was like, this woman is like so funny to me.
I love going down those rabbit holes of like your inspirations, where then it's like for like a couple months, I feel like that's like I start speaking that way. Like every time I'm at an open mic, I start like delivering things that way, and then it kind of gets to where it's like too far, and I'm like, okay, that was like my dark period was because I was watching so much Anthony Jeselnik that I was like I want to try this, like the short jokes, the dark jokes, like these kind of things.
You did that for a while, and I was like, that's weird, Tristan.
When even your friends are like, I don't know about this, like that was when I was like, okay, it's back to the drawing board.
I feel like I've tried to be like a jokey, like I like stick to a script. I'm jokey, but I'm the best when I go off script. I'm the best when I'm like talking to the audience and I tie it back into my joke. I'm the best when I'm just like fucking not winging it, but like semi winging it.
I would say I would disagree when you said not winging it. I think that you are at your best when you're winging it. Like I think that your best sets that I've seen you do, and it's you don't usually bring this out during like shows, so it's been like at like open mics, but when you just are like, well, fuck it, like this is just a crowd work show, and you just start like riffing on people in the audience, that's your best work.
I know. Every single time everyone's like, Heather, you were so good, why can't you just bring this out in a show? I think I'm just scared. Like I feel like I don't like, that's not like, I don't know, I feel like I was like, oh, I need to be like every other comedian. I need to prove that I can like do a set and stick to it and have a script, have timing, do a tight 5, do a tight 10, you know, that I can write jokes.
I think that they're both beneficial though. I think that the benefit of writing really solid material is that then you have that like timing, you have something to fall back on, and you also like understand the structure of like how to paint a picture. To me, the best crowd work like still is like writing material. It's basically you're writing material on the fly, and it's like you're like painting a picture. That's
kind of what I maybe want to do with the show I have. I mean, this will probably come out after my show at the Funny Bone. I think I'm gonna kind of, but there's so much writing on that. I was like, should I just go and like, I mean, I have material, but should I actually just go and just like do some crowd work? Should I just like just say fuck it and just do it?
I think that if you're gonna do it anywhere, doing it there would be like, if you can do it there, you can do it anywhere. As far as like Columbus places, because it's that's kind of like the biggest. I mean, it is the biggest comedy club in Columbus.
I know. I was gonna say, like, could you imagine I go there and then I'm like, even if I fucked it up or whatever, at least I had that opportunity, and like it's not the end of the world if I never see the Funny Bone again or something. I think that's what some people are like.
That's a hot take attitude to have.
I mean, I mean, not that I don't want to ever do the Funny Bone. I'm saying like I'm not limiting myself to just that one opportunity.
Yeah. Which I think is good.
I'm not saying I think the Funny Bone's great. I love the Funny Bone. I'm not saying like fuck the Funny Bone.
No, I know that. I know you're
not.
No,
I'm just saying I'm not. I feel like there's going to be so many. I will have so many more opportunities. Yeah. And obviously I'm not going to fuck up this opportunity. But I've just thought I'm trying to like. I get really anxious, and then I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to fuck it up and screw it up and blow up my career in comedy before it even started. And then I'm like, oh wait, well, I mean, who says? I mean, you could go to a different state, go to their version of the Funny Bone, you know? You never know.
There's literally another one in Ohio, so it's kind of like...
There's actually like 2, I think.
Yeah.
There
are 2. Yeah,
there's like one in Toledo and there's
Dayton,
one in Cleveland.
Or Cincinnati or something.
Oh,
so maybe there's 3 more.
Yeah, I think every major city has one then.
Yeah. I know that for me, it was kind of like the opposite, where like I've had 2 opportunities to perform there. One I felt really good about. Yeah. One did not. And then ever since then, it's been for me. I'm like, I like need to get back there to get like a redemption. I need a redemption.
I feel like you have a show coming up with the Funny Bone in like
October 18th, the Wednesday Night Jokes Mania.
I think you're gonna do it.
I think I'm very excited for that show.
Yeah.
I love theme shows. I love like kind of like the sort of like game. It's like I want to know if like I can play a character. I almost like want to play like a wrestling character. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's like, that's what it's based on.
Gargantuan Gary.
Yeah. I would just like wear like the like grippy socks and...
No, I was going to say I just imagine you in like a leotard and like the weird leotard with like the bendy, like it's like almost like a banana hammock basically, but it covers your whole body.
If I go, I'm like, it's going to be like the Andre the Giant, like...
That's what I was thinking for you. And I know you come out and you're... I'm not thinking of his bulge, but basically his bulge would be in everyone's face, and no one would listen to a word you would say.
I do think it would
staring
be.
At your dick.
It'd be memorable. For sure.
If you film that and you start posting that on social media, it would be very.
I think that I would go out in like a leotard that was more made for like figure skating, like just super colorful, like you know,
and you're wearing a skirt like a girl,
like Blades of Glory, not the skirt.
Oh,
because then that's gonna cover the bulge.
I thought you were gonna say like a leotard like your daughter would wear if she was doing gymnastics or something, and I was like, oh my god, what if you brought your daughter and you're both wearing matching leotards?
I do. Eventually, I haven't decided what the age cutoff is going to be, but like at some point, my daughter is going to be a part of a show. Like I don't know.
Oh my gosh!
At what age I would say is like acceptable for that? I'm gonna have to like speak to her mother about that.
13. I don't know.
It depends. Maybe if we did a clean show. I've always
if we did it, if it was like a clean show or improv show, maybe. But I kind of doubt it would be 100% clean. But
yeah, but as clean as we can make it.
If it was just like doing improv games and trying to keep it clean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, because she's gone to improv practice before, and like she's a natural.
She's a natural.
She's so much funnier than I am, and like it's a very humbling relationship to have with a 3-year-old. That like your 3-year-old's funnier than you are.
Everyone say hello to our special guest Pepper.
Yeah, we do have a guest on this podcast. It's not just the two of us.
Release the cats.
And if you're only listening to the podcast, that means you just missed a cat. So watch it.
Watch it on YouTube.
Watch it on YouTube. Sometimes we have cats. All right, should we do I feel like we should do one
just one funny thing,
like very like funny sketch. This has been like our most serious episode, but I think we needed that. We needed like
we needed
a grounding episode. That's what I consider this episode. Is like we have the legit setup now.
Yeah,
where 7, 8 episodes in, like now it's like, okay, this is a legitimate podcast where
we are. People really asked us our advice last night.
Yeah.
Or they asked you. I was like standing in the corner or something, but they were like, how do you make a podcast? And I was like, don't tell them. Well, people... No, we told them.
Yeah. People asked me if we had considered producing other podcasts, and I was like, I would, but I have less than zero time.
We have so much shit going on. We have so many shows. We have
shows.
So many obligations in our lives. We have we're part of 3 different groups of improv. We're part of me and Tristan have our podcast. We're part of 2 or 3 different improv groups. We have families. We have full-time jobs. Tristan's actually still in school full-time. It's insane.
It's a lot. So yeah, building
if you want us to produce your podcast, aka Tristan, you're have to put on a little wait list, but we will get to you.
Yeah. When I graduate, probably. I kind of worry about...
Tell them when you graduate.
Huh?
Tell them when you graduate.
In May of 2024.
Oh, okay. I thought it was... I forgot it was that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
It'll be here.
I forgot it. It was 2025. I was 2 years from now.
No. It'll be here before I know it.
Right.
Be very quick.
Yeah. Wow.
What was I going to say? There was... yeah, I think producing other shows would be interesting. It'd be an interesting addition to... I like more the idea of producing live shows. If we were going to help other people who are kind of trying to figure out live shows, I think that's my bread and butter. Yeah. That's more feasible.
I put my nose in that.
Yeah. Your nose all up in it.
I don't know, bro. I think it'd just be good.
Like a dog who shit on the floor.
Oh my God.
Your nose all up in it.
All right.
One of the things that I want to, this will also be kind of a serious discussion, so maybe it's not so much of a tone shift. I got a notification the other day when I was uploading our podcast to Spotify of the Spotify platform rules. And it starts out with this mission statement. Spotify's mission is to unlock the potential of human creativity by giving 1 million creative artists the opportunity to live off their art and billions of fans the opportunity to enjoy and be inspired by it. And basically it's saying that we want to give people free artistic expression, but with boundaries. So the rules were they actually kind of made me laugh because I was like, what are the rules? I was like, have we broken any of them yet? So the audience can decide if we've broken any of these rules. One is dangerous content. Spotify's home to communities where people can create, express themselves, listen, share, learn, and be inspired. Don't promote violence, incite hatred, harass, or engage in any other behavior that may place people at risk of serious physical harm or death. So content that advocates or glorifies serious physical harm towards an individual or group including or but not limited to encouraging or glorifying suicide and self-harm, or inciting or threatening serious physical harm or act of violence against a specific target or a specific group.
I mean, I would say we haven't like totally threatened one of our guests.
Not entirely.
No, not entirely. It was just...
We thought about it.
We thought about it. I mean, it just involved a tarp and a single chair, but...
Yeah. But that's just like Heather's pranks, right? Like, it doesn't say that you can't prank your guests.
We didn't prank them.
No, but we thought about it.
We did.
Yeah. So, sorry, Spotify. We may have broken that rule. Another one.
I would just like to say, everything I've said, I've never actually fallen through with.
No.
I've actually not pranked one of these people yet, because if we did start a prank war, we would not be friends anymore. But I would prank you so good, but then you'd get me back really good, but then I would one-up you, but then it would be like a constant one-upping.
I think one of us might end up
Killing
either
each
like
other,
in the hospital or in jail.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. The second rule, and this is the
Now
one
I
that
want a prank war.
thought was actually funny, was content that promotes or supports terrorism or violent extremism. And that's something that, this podcast... we haven't really gotten into like promoting terrorism.
I mean, oh my God.
Did you? I think you almost said not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Wow. They cut us off at the knees. Terrorism.
Yeah.
We need to terrorize.
We used to be a proper country.
Do you know who we need to terrorize? People that don't pick up their dog shit. And then you pick it up for them, but then you like basically like a drive-by, but you're throwing the shit back at them. Not the dog, at the person.
I think, though, that we could probably accomplish that same thing by just, like, using assertive communication.
But you could go up to someone and be like, hey, could you pick up your dog shit? And they'd be like, yeah. And then they see you walk away, but they just still don't do it.
But that's where you have to, like, enforce your request. You have to,
then
like...
how do you make someone pick up dog shit?
Let's do that, okay. Ma'am.
Okay, yeah? Can I help you?
I saw that your dog just happened to leave a pile of feces on the ground there, and it looked like you were going to walk away.
I mean, I'm taking my dog on a walk, so...
Right. But this is actually my property. And
I thought this was a sidewalk, so it's like public,
Right, but I'm responsible for that sidewalk, and I don't own a dog for the reason that I don't like picking up dog shit.
Oh, okay.
So I would just...
No,
I would
stop
appreciate
it, Fluffy. Stop it, Fluffy. I'm sorry.
I'd appreciate it if you could pick up Fluffy's feces off the ground.
I mean, I totally would, but I forgot a bag, so...
Okay, I had a feeling you would say that.
Oh,
Here.
you have one. Well, thank you.
Can you,
Thanks so much.
I just like to, like, see that you
Yeah,
did it.
no, totally. But they're still, Fluffy's still going, so...
Is Fluffy okay?
They're fine.
This seems like a lot of shit for one dog.
Yeah.
Do you need... I mean, I have another bag.
Oh, yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, that's what I really appreciate that.
I'm actually just gonna stay here until I see that you pick up the dog shit.
Okay.
All right.
Fluffy, no humping. All right.
Is ma'am, the dog shit.
Oh.
It's still on the sidewalk.
Well, you have a good day.
I gave you two bags.
Thank you. You have a good day now. Come on, Fluffy. Thanks so much. Walked away. She's like half a block away.
Is that what you would do if you had a dog?
No. I've picked up plenty of dog shit. I was a dog walker, actually, for like a year. So I usually picked up the dog shit.
Okay.
I say usually.
I wonder if people...
But because sometimes I didn't.
I feel like that situation in real life would result in like violence. And I think that you're right.
Well, I think
maybe like the assertive communication, maybe I was wrong.
No, because like that's how like for me, like I have for a job I had in the past, they have like this thing called like ground signs. So you put like if you see like a for sale sign, you put a stake in the ground and you put the sign up. Mm-hmm. And then some places you go, they don't allow you to do that. and I had to be like, I had like this thing, so someone would come up, like someone could come up to me and be like, oh hey, you can't put that here, like we can't do that. And I'll be like, oh no, it's okay, I have permission. No, it's okay. And be like, ma'am, you can't put that sign here. And I'd be like, no, it's okay, I have permission. Or I did. You just like, oh no, it's okay, and you just keep doing it, like okay, and then you're like, okay, well thank you, and they're just like just super confused, like, but you keep doing it anyway.
That seems like I think there's a term for that, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely I mean that's a real thing, like,
where it's like you just like ram right through.
Yeah, like okay, yeah, no thank you.
I think that's just like,
yeah, I mean people
abusing boundaries.
Yeah, no, it's just like, you're not acknowledging that you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So then like they don't, you just got to power through it. It's
just
like,
power through it.
I mean, yeah, so I do that for like my old job. I'd be like, no, it's okay, I have permission. That actually never happened, but I had that like ready to go in my head to like if
like
somebody.
I have permission.
No, or it's either like, no, it's okay, I have permission, or you'd be like, oh my god, really? Oh, I didn't know that, but you like
the sign's
you
already
finish
gone.
it?
Like,
Yeah,
well, it's already here.
I mean, and then they could like go and like take it out, and like that would be fine, but then I would probably just drive down the same street and just do it again.
That just seems like so much work to be petty. Like,
It's
I'm
not
petty.
It was like it was literally like part of my job was like you have to go put out signs for this event or for this like thing that's happening.
Oh, so yeah, if it was for events, then why are people even giving you pushback?
Because like some communities don't let you put ground signs
like
out.
HOAs, yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, like, I hope I never live in a neighborhood that has an HOA.
I mean,
that would just irritate me so. Like, I need to. I don't like being controlled.
I know. So like, yeah, when people are like trying to confront you about something, like, I mean, for example, like if I don't know, I think I saw like this Adele was at a concert and they kept going up to this guy because he was like standing and like kind of like having a really good time, but people kept coming up to him and saying like, you need to sit down, we can't see, because they were sitting down. And he was like, oh, it's okay. Or he was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm just like really excited, it's Adele and blah blah blah. And then like the security guards kept coming up to him and like telling him to sit down, but like other people were also actually standing, but like I think because like the people behind him were just mad at him and got security involved. And Adele literally stopped the whole concert and she goes, hey, what are you doing to that guy? Why are you bothering him? He's just standing there. Let him have a good time.
Let him have a good time.
I mean, it was so good, but what I'm saying is, like, if people were like, hey, you can't, hey, don't, if, like, okay, like, pretend, like, you're a person behind me at a concert and you can't see and you come to tell me to sit down.
Waited my whole life to see 5 Seconds of Summer. Ma'am, could you...
Oh, hi.
Could you, maybe, like, sit down? I've been waiting my whole life to see this band.
Oh, it's okay.
But I can't see, is what I'm saying. Like,
have you thought about, like going to a different spot?
But I mean, it's like wall to wall here. Like, we're elbow to elbow, and I'm only 5'1".
I mean, you can stand in front of me if you want.
All right, thanks. Can I just scoot by here?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean,
okay,
cool. Like, I mean, you just like, I mean, it's like interesting that people are. I think older people too, they're like more confrontational with you. Mm-hmm. Like, well, you can't do this here, and you're like, well, that's okay, thanks anyway. And then they like, when you don't react, like when you go like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't, like, I think like a lady was like telling these boys they couldn't skateboard, but it was literally like a public area and they could skateboard, and she was like chasing them. Like, they're allowed to skateboard. Like, just because you tell me I'm not allowed to do something doesn't, I mean, I'm gonna keep doing it because I'm an adult.
Yeah. And
I'm not gonna let one person enforce a weird behavior. I don't even know. Like, it would just be like,
like when you're like, you're
like you're not in charge of me. You're not my adult. You're not my parent. Why would I listen to you?
Right.
Like, okay, cool.
Like people used to say, like, I don't know if people said this when you were a kid. I know, like, I heard people say it, but like they were like, it's a free country. Like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And I remember that I asked my mom about that when I was a kid. I was like, what do they mean when they say like it's a free country? And she was like, no, it doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. She was like, it basically just means that like enough people had to die that now the country's free. And I was like, so in my mind,
that's not what that means, Mom.
For like the longest time, I thought that there was like some kind of quota that like enough of your people had to die in a war before your country was considered free.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
So like China, you're like, enough people didn't die in China, so that's why they're not free.
They're not free because they haven't met, like 300,000 dead or whatever.
I'm sure Chinese people are free. I was just saying stuff.
Yeah, that's actually
like
rule number 6.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh my God. Don't badmouth China.
Don't talk about China. No, the rules actually, I like started reading them and then I was like, it's so extensive that like it's actually not funny. Like, I guess to the point where it's just like, we get it.
Did we actually break any rules?
I don't think so. There's like a sensitive content rule, so we can't promote graphic or gratuitous depictions of violence. Content that contains sexually explicit material. But that's like actually...
is that basically like
porn?
Yeah, okay. Well, that's not going to be a problem here.
Visual depictions of genitalia. We've only like audibly talked about dicks, so that's
I was going to say, if it said we can't talk about dicks, then this is not the right platform for us.
I guess that we're going to have to take this podcast elsewhere. Advocating or glorifying sexual themes.
Sexual themes?
But related to rape, incest, or bestiality.
Oh, I was like...
So
what's wrong with talking about sex?
Themes.
Okay.
It's a religious podcast. Yeah. Which I don't think we haven't gone down. Did we?
We talked about furries the other day.
That's not bestiality though.
It kind of is.
That's different because it's people. Sorry, we talked about this. They are considered what? Anthropomorphic.
Oh my God.
Individuals.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
I can't believe.
They're not, yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe I talked about that.
We also weren't really advocating or glorifying it.
No, we talked about the difficulties of being a furry.
Yeah, we talked about
how hard your life is.
Yeah,
Mr. Fluffykins.
And anthropomorphic individuals out there, we hear your plight.
We hear your pleas.
Yeah.
To be represented.
We hope that you feel seen. We can't put any illegal content.
Okay, that's so broad.
I think it's copyright law.
Oh.
And
I thought it was gonna be
I don't know.
like no murder. I was like, how would we even?
Yeah. I mean, all your pranks. I think that's kind of what they're talking about. We can't put that in a podcast.
I like how you think I'm like this weird mean prankster when you literally agreed and helped me plan one prank that would have gone too far.
I was helping you reel it back though. That was like
not
my
really.
whole thing. Is I was like,
you're like, I have a clown costume.
Yeah.
Like, I will dress up as a clown to distract this person, and then you can come up behind them, blindfold them, Heather, and then we can throw them in the car. And you could be dressed up as something else. And like, it was going to be like a themed kidnapping.
It was.
And you were going to be the bait.
It was going to be too far.
You were going to be the bait.
It was for sure going to be too far. But we didn't do it.
We didn't do it, but they would have deserved it.
Yeah.
But now I feel like that person would have kidnapped one of us by now, so.
You never know. Oh my God. Times are crazy.
Yeah. So you should always have a clown costume on hand.
Yeah, you never know. I'm always ready to be a sad clown.
Oh my God, do you remember when there was like those killer clowns in like fucking 2016 for no ass reason, and then they just stopped?
I have a theory about that. So my theory about that is that was right around when the movie It was coming out, and I think that was some kind of marketing scheme.
Oh.
I think that they were doing some kind of focus group thing, and they were like, people aren't scared of clowns anymore. They were like, how can we make people more scared of clowns? And they started paying people to be like creepy clowns.
That's probably it.
I think that's
a good. I didn't think about it like that.
I overthink everything.
Oh, but that's true. I think people, now that you say that, I was like, I knew people had theories, and I think that's probably one I heard before. But they're saying like it just so happened to correlated with the movie It, or like some sort of clown.
Because it was literally like less than a year, I think, before that movie came out.
Yeah,
it's just like,
it just like stopped. But like, weren't there like actually like crimes committed by clown people though?
I think so. I think some people probably took it a little too far.
I didn't somebody actually murder somebody?
I think so.
Just a little too far in the marketing stunt. Jimmy was really, dedicated. Oh my God, okay. You're the clown that murdered somebody, but I'm like the agent that hired you just for the It movie, just to promote it. Oh, and like we're in prison, and like these are the phones. Hey, Jimmy.
What's up, Dave?
Well, like we can see each other through the glass. So really great. You went all in on the role for the movie It, like promoting it, but
yeah, I wanted to be the best clown.
Yeah, we just don't really understand. Like we just said like walk around the highways at night and carry a knife, and it like we gave you a prop knife and everything. Like it wasn't real.
Okay,
so
but
we're just wondering like why you had a real knife and why you decided to kill like your neighbor.
Listen, I'm a method actor, okay? You gave me a fake knife. What am I supposed to do with that? I had to get into character, right? So I improvised.
Right.
I improvised. Okay. I ad-libbed.
Okay.
Using a real knife.
Yeah.
And I, you know, I'm a method actor. I really got into my character.
Okay.
And I also I thought there was some kind of bonus involved if I like really sold it.
We told you it was only going to be for a year before the It movie. I mean, we paid you up front. There, you know, there was no bonus. Like we were very clear on that.
But it was my understanding.
We literally had a recorded phone conversation where you said, "Will there be any bonuses?" And we're like, "No, not at this time."
At this time, I thought that at a later time, maybe there'd be some kind of bonus if I really went all in.
I just that's really great, but I have to let you know that like you are legally responsible for all your actions, and
I know.
And this is where we cut ties, and we will send you your final check.
Okay.
To the jail.
Do I get a bonus though?
Have a good day, Jerry.
Nice knowing you, Dave.
Like, I don't even know. I don't know if that was funny. I think it was kind of creepy.
I think it was funny.
Okay.
I had fun.
Yeah, you had way too much fun. You embodied Gary, I can tell.
That wasn't Gary. That was Jimmy or Jerry, whichever one that you decided. You called me two different names in that scene.
Yeah, I don't. Would that even worse that the agent doesn't even remember which name you have?
It does make it worse.
Yeah.
He's like, whatever. The guy that killed somebody. I don't care.
Oh my God.
I think this whole episode's been fun though. I think it's been
fun.
It's been a serious episode, but it's good. I feel comfortable. I feel like we're grounded. We're professional.
Grounded.
Big things for this podcast in the future.
Big dicks for this podcast in the future.
Big dicks.
Big dicks, and I cannot lie. You other bros can't deny.
When a guy walks in with a 10 in your face.
You get stunned. Okay.
What a good way to end the podcast.
I had to throw out dicks. Yeah.
It's not against the rules.
Dicks.
We can talk about dicks all we want. We just can't show any dicks.
Big dicks.
You'll have to use your imagination.
I'm sorry. I can't.
All right. This episode has been brought to you by Grandma's Living Room and Big Dicks.
I was going to say fat cocks.
And the movie It. That came out in 2016.
Okay. Yeah, you can tell I'm like losing my mind. Mm-hmm. Grandma's living room has been too much.
It has been too much. But wait, you know what? Next time we need hard candies and like cookies and stuff.
I have the perfect bowl. I'm Grandma.
Yeah. That's what you were like so offended when we set this up, and I was like, it looks like Grandma's living room, and you're like, what do people always say that when they come over to my house? And I was like, well, I meant the set. But
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's, you know.
Give off very stifling vibes.
Stifling vibes?
I don't know. Like you go to like your grandparents' house and you're like, oh, they have the same furniture and from when I was a kid, and it looks like they haven't dusted.
I think it's nostalgic. When I go to my grandma's house and like if anything.
It is nostalgic.
If anything changes, I actually get a little bit sad. Like if they get like a new couch. I think that happened at my grandma's house like a couple years ago. They got a new couch and I was like, it's not
you're like, what the fuck? Where's the couch?
Where's like the green one with like
couch?
The little like floral thing? Now it's like just plain blue.
Boring.
And it doesn't
if
smell the same.
If my house changes, you'll be like, why grandma's house changed? This is upsetting to me. Ew. I basically skipped to grandma.
Which is worse, being like called like daddy or mommy or being called grandma?
I think people are literally talking about how they're like, because of the pandemic, you literally skipped a whole midlife crisis. You just became grandma because you like knitting, baking, and like staying at home with your cats. Yeah. And I like knitting and baking and staying at home with my cats.
You did become a grandmother, yeah.
I was inside. I like knitting. I knitted and I watched a Great British Baking Show, and then I started baking. Not entirely well, but then I did run my own bakery for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would just like to point out that like in this set, I had everything else designed except for like what was going to be below the curtains. And then you were like, I have these curtains. So the really like the most grandma thing, and the lamp, the most grandma pieces of this whole setup were like your contribution.
Those are my mom's old curtains, okay? They're not my...
Who is Gen X and not a boomer. So not quite, I mean, like a very young grandma.
Well, she's not a grandma yet. Don't, shh. No,
she might be one day.
No, yeah, I know. I'm fucking with you. She wants to be a grandma so desperately. It's kind of like old at this point.
Yeah. If what was I gonna say?
Moving on.
My point was that like if she was a grandma, she'd be young, because like my mom is Gen X and she is a grandma.
The young grandmas.
But it's only because my brother and I like had kids very, very young.
Yeah, gilf. I've been Heather Scott.
I've been Tristan Shae.
And this has been Comedic Behavior Therapy. Tune in next time.
Dicks.